In this video, we're going to draw the second simple plan provided for you in the handouts. I'm starting with the old plan, the plan 1, and I'm going to click on, first I'm going to make sure it's saved. So I click on Save, and then I'll click on Save As, and save it simply as Plan 2. Save. And you see up here, it says Plan 2. And then I'll erase what I've done here, and I don't have to worry about erasing this because it's in the other file. Okay, so the handout looks like this. Plan 2. And what you'll notice here is that the overall dimensions are 15 feet high by 20 feet wide. Again, we don't have to, I don't want you to draw the dimensions, that's for later, just the walls and the furniture. So we have a 20 foot by 15 foot overall dimension, and we're going to just block it out that way. It's called drawing the box it comes in, right? You draw the largest dimension of it, and then we're going to carve away this corner, we're going to radius that corner, and we're going to carve away this corner. And then after these corners, and then after that we're going to make the openings, and then we'll put in the details. So that's the overall approach. So I'll start now just by drawing a line that's 20 feet. Got to remember that foot mark. That's 20 feet by 15 feet. And then I'm going to zoom out a little bit with the scroll wheel so I see the whole thing on the screen. And then I'm going to use O-Track. I have the O-Track button on, so I'm able to use those tools. And so I hold the cursor at this endpoint, but I don't click, and I drag upward, and I get the temporary guideline, the green dashed line. And when I get the intersection of two green lines, I can click, and now I've made a 20-foot line without having to type it in. And then I just close out that rectangle. Now in some cases, it makes more sense to offset these lines first, but in this case, it's a simple enough plan. I'm just going to draw the outline of the entire room, and then when I'm done, I'll offset all those lines to get the wall thickness. So I'm going to start at the bottom, and you'll see that each corner has a 4 foot wide by 3 foot high corner cut out. So I'm going to use the offset command, O enter, or use that button up there, and I'll type in. You'll see that the default is 2 inches because that's the last time I offset a line, but this time I'm going to type in 4 feet, and I want to offset this line. I click the line, and now I have to pick a point on the side that I want to offset, so I just click anywhere here, and it offsets the line 4 feet. Click that line, offset 4 feet. I'm going to hit enter because that's the end of that command. I can hit enter again to repeat the command if you've made those right click customizations. And this time I'll type in 3 feet, or I can type in 36, it doesn't matter. Select the object, select the side. So we're going to do it step by step, but sometimes you can offset all your lines and you end up with lots of guidelines, and then you can trim away everything all at once. But we're going to keep it simple. We're going to do each step at a time. So I could use the fillet command or the trim command here. I'll use the trim command. So TR enter, or this button up here. And when it says to select cutting edges, I can figure out which one are the cutting edges, or I could just hit enter to make everything a cutting edge, and I trim away what I don't need. This requires you to visualize what the end product should look like. So I trimmed away what I didn't need. Now I'll go up to the corners. Notice I'm not doing the doors yet. The door openings are the last thing I do. I want to get the big picture and then add detail. So now in the upper left-hand corner, there's a 6 foot, there's a diagonal line that starts 6 feet from the top here and 6 feet over from the corner. I can do this one of two ways. actually probably several ways, but I'll show you both, 2 ways anyway. I'm going to offset 6 feet, select the line, offset it down, select the line, offset it down. Now I've located the points where that diagonal wall starts and finishes. So then I could draw a line from that endpoint to that endpoint. Then erase that and trim those. That was a few steps there. I can do it a little bit quicker. I'm going to undo and start over. Just use the undo command and get back to this point. I'm going to use O-Track in a little bit of a different way now, or yeah, object snap tracking, or O-Track. First, realize that, as I mentioned in the last video, you can use O-Track to start a line at a specific point away from another object. For example, if I wanted to start a line 6 feet away from this point to the left, I can hold my cursor here but not click. I have the line command on. Let me start over just so to be clear. Start the line command. I want to start that line command somewhere around here, 6 feet to the left of this point. So I hold my cursor on that point, but I don't click. I drag to the left. I have this temporary guideline. Then I can type in 6 feet, enter. Well, that's where my line is starting. Of course, I don't need the line to start there. I need it to start 6 feet down from this point here, and then I can go diagonally up. Well, the reason why I demonstrated this first is because it can be complicated, it can be confusing if you're using this tool over another line, but you just have to know what you want and visualize that. I'm going to start the line command, hold my cursor up here without clicking, and drag down. I'm not drawing a line, I'm just getting a start point. I type in 6 feet, enter, and that's the start of my line. You don't want to draw one line from here to here and then continue. You don't want lines overlapping. So there's my start point, and because I know that both sides of this triangular cutout are 6 feet, I know it's a 45-degree angle, so I can just O-snap to that point. And then use the trim command to get rid of that. That's quicker. All right. You'll see that there are many ways to do most of the tasks that you need to do. It's your job to try to figure out on the fly what is the best way. So next, I'm going to go to the corner up here, and I see that it's a rounded corner. And the inside diameter, or inside radius, I should say, is 5 feet. But we're drawing the outside wall, so that radius is 5'6". So we know what tool we need to use for that. It's the fillet command, F, enter. And it says enter first object, or, right, select first object, or undo polyline radius. This is the only option that we talked about so far, the radius option. We can put a radius on the at the end where these two lines meet. So I'm going to click here, and the radius obviously is 5 feet 6 inches. 5'6". I hit enter. I click one line and the next line, and I get my radius, 5'6". All right, so now I've got the outline of this wall, and now I can use the offset command, and I offset 6 inches. There's a note on the plan near the bottom that says 6 inches typical. That means all the walls are 6 inches. And then I'm going to offset all my lines. Like that. And where I have overlaps or gaps, I'm going to fix that by using the fillet command. And this time, I don't want a radius. I'm going to start the fillet command, F, enter, or this button up here. And it says enter first object. Well, if I forget to change the radius, I'm going to get this. I don't want that. So I'm going to undo, fillet, and I have to change the radius. So I can click down here and click radius, or just type in R, enter, and change the radius from 5'6" to 0. Now it's just going to make those two lines meet wherever they intersect. I'm repeating the last command by using the right button of the mouse. This happens all the time. You do the same command several times in a row, so that right click repeating the last command is very helpful. So it's left click, left click. That command is done. Right click to repeat the command, left click, right click to repeat the command, left, left, right, left, left. Okay. So now I have my walls. And I'm going to now put the door openings in. Now if I were thinking ahead a little bit, I might position the table now because I have my midpoint. I could get a midpoint here, right? And then draw a circle here. I'm not going to have that midpoint when I carve out that door, but I'll show you how we would do it if you don't think that far ahead. Let's first put in the door openings. Start with this one here. You see that it's centered on this wall. It's a 3-foot door opening. So in this case, maybe I'll just start a line here, midpoint to midpoint, then offset 18 inches in both directions. I can click on this object. Now this is a good example of it's a good way to demonstrate a problem that some people have with the offset command. If I select that object to offset and pick a side, I want to make sure that I'm not clicking the left button right here, right? Because notice my cursor is clearly to the left, but the nearest OSNAP that the computer is reading is the midpoint there. You see that it's lighting up there. See? It's lighting up in the middle. So it's not going to clearly pick a side. So I usually pick a point way out of the way here to make sure I'm offsetting in the right direction. So I pick the object, pick the side. Okay. Then I erase my start point, and I could use the trim command, but I want to gather up all the commands. I want to do them all at once, because if I did the trim command for this and then went over here, made this door, used the trim command, then did it over here, used the trim command, I'm using the trim command 4 times when I can just do it once. So we'll get to that. So this door happens to match exactly the door on the opposite side. You'll see on the handout that the door here is 3 feet wide, and there's a distance of 8'6" from the right opening of the door to the end of the room. And on the bottom, there's a dimension of 4'6" plus 4 feet here. So it's straight across. So I'm going to, rather than draw it all over again, I'm going to copy, select the object. Notice I use a blue window. That way I only select the 2 short lines. If I use the right window, I'd select the 2 short lines and the horizontal lines. So I select them this way. I enter when I'm done selecting objects. I select a base point. This makes sense, this base point, because then I can zoom out and just copy those 2 lines straight across like that. Next, I want to do one of these doors. These doors start 1 foot up from this corner, and then they're 3 feet wide. So I guess I could offset 1 foot, and then offset 3 feet, like this, and then trim away everything. That's perfectly fine. In fact, it's not going to be much slower or faster than this other method, but I tend to do this. I start the line command. I hold my cursor at the corner here, but I don't click. I drag up and I type in 12, or 1 foot, and that's the start of my line. And then I click here. And now I'm going to end the command. If you now draw a line straight up 3 feet, you're drawing a line on top of another line. You don't want to do that. So I'm going to end the command here, start the command over with a right click, hold my cursor here, drag up 3 feet, and there's my line. So I'm just drawing these two little lines. I'm not drawing a separate line here, and I don't have to do any trimming of those lines. Now I'm going to use the copy command again, selecting these two lines with a blue window, and I'm going to click here and drag them over to this point because I can see from the dimensions and from the drawing that these two openings are aligned. Now I refrain from trimming out all the openings because now I can do them all at once. Trim, select. Select cutting edges. I'm going to make everything a cutting edge by hitting enter. And now I just have to select the points or the lines that I want to get rid of. I could click on them individually, or I can use a green window. There are my door openings. So the wall is done. Let's do the door. All right. As you can see from the drawing, the door starts here. It connects to this wall right here. That's where the hinge is and goes up. And the door swing, the quarter circle, is in this position. So I'm going to start by drawing the door itself. You could use lines, but it's very much easier to use a rectangle because that rectangle is going to be a single object. If you use lines, when you start moving doors and everything, you might forget that little line at the bottom or the little line at the top. So it's best to use the rectangle. I'm going to click here. There's my rectangle. And I just have to remember x, comma, y. Give the x dimension. And I'll just round it up to 2 inches. The doors are anywhere from 1 3/8 to 2 inches thick. So I'm just going to go 2, comma. Now we know how wide the door is because the door opening is 3 feet. That means the door width must be 3 feet. So 3 feet, enter. There's my door. Now the door swing. We talked about this when we covered the arc command. You can click on the arc command here, but you won't get the right tool. This is the arc command, but when it asks for the first point, and then the second point, well, I don't know where to click to. If I'm not clicking on a OSNAP or typing in a value, then it's random. All right, so I'm just going to do this randomly here. That doesn't look right. I can click on it and see that the center point of that arc is not where it should be. It should be at the hinge. So that was the wrong way. So I have to use the right arc command, which is the second arc command that we used, start, center, end. So I click on this. It says specify start point of an arc, of the arc. You have to remember that the arc always is drawn in the counterclockwise direction. So this has to be my start point, not up here, because the arc starting from here will just go to the left and down. So this is my start point. Then it says specify center point of the arc. That's where the hinge is. And then you can see, if you keep the mouse moving, you can see what you're going to get. Now let me zoom into the end of the door. You don't click there. That's not a full quarter circle. The full quarter circle will be here. Now it's true that you get this weird little angle here. You'll never see that, but that in fact is where the swing goes through. You'll notice if you look at many doors that they're actually trimmed at the edge to avoid this situation so they close more easily. I'm going to use the stretch command just to demonstrate this. You don't have to do this, but normally doors are often cut like this so they close more easily. But anyway, undid that. This is my door. Now to draw the table. It's not often really important that furniture is drawn exactly at a certain spot because furniture is movable. But in this case, we know that it's centered on the room. It's centered between these two doors. Now you could draw a line, say from here to here, and from here to here, temporary guidelines, and then draw another temporary guideline like this and use the midpoint of that line for the middle of your table. But we always try to draw less than we have to. And in this case, there are other tricks that we'll learn later to avoid this, but we do need one guideline. I'm just going to do this one. I'm going to go from this corner to this corner. That is the same point. That's going to be the same point as what I got from drawing the 3 guidelines. So using that as a temporary guideline, I'm going to draw a circle, and that circle is a 4-foot diameter, so of course I type in 24, 2 feet, for that table. That is a 4-foot diameter table, a 2-foot radius. Okay, the chairs are positioned around this this table, and they're on this 45-degree angle. It's a lot easier to draw these things orthogonally and then rotate them later. So I'm going to do that here. Let's see. Maybe the easiest way to do this is to draw it off to the side and then position it. So I'm going to draw, let's see, I'm going to draw a line. The chair is 1'6" by 1'6", so 1'6", enter. Go to the right, 1'6", enter. Might be easier just to type in 18 and then close it out. The corners are radiused at 3 inches, so I'm going to use the fillet command. F, enter. I see down here that the radius is currently set to 0, so I'm going to change it by typing in R, enter, 3, enter. So 3 is now the radius. Right click to repeat the command, right click, there. And then I'll just draw a line from here to here to get that back. That's the end point that I used. Alright, so there's my chair. I only have to draw it once, because anytime you see any repeated element, you don't draw it twice. You use copy or mirror or some other tool. Now I need that chair to be 6 inches away, as you can see from the dimension on the plan, 6 inches away from the table. So I'm going to use the move command. I could do it in 2 steps by clicking here and placing it at the top of the table, and then repeat the move command, and it says select objects. I can either select them again using a blue window because I don't want to select the table, or I could just type in the letter P, which stands for previous, and it selects the previously selected set of objects. I hit enter. I can pick any point here, drag it in the direction I want to go, and type in 6. Okay, that was about 3 extra moves that we needed. I'm just going to show you how to do it in 1 step. Move command, select the object, hit enter. Now ideally my base point would be 6 inches in front of the chair, right? Well, in real life you can't grab an object 6 inches away from it. If you're going to move a chair, you have to grab it from some point on the chair itself. But in AutoCAD you can grab an object a distance away. So I'm going to do that using O-Track. I hold my cursor here but without clicking. I drag down and I type 6, enter. Now I'm holding that chair 6 inches away, and then I can hold it at that quadrant point, click, and I've dropped it in the right place. Okay, then I'm going to use the mirror command. MI, or this button up here. Select the object, and I guess I'll mirror across first, and then I'll select both of those chairs, again using the blue window, because if I use a green window of the same size, I would be selecting that door swing and the table, and I don't want those. Just want the objects that are fully inside the blue window. And then in this case it's a little hard to grasp at first, but my mirror point will be the middle of the table, and I rotate on a 45-degree angle, and I get the other 2 chairs. Do I want to erase the source object? No. Then I'm going to use the rotate command, and I could select everything. It doesn't matter if I rotate the table. Here's another good reason not to use lines for the door itself. If I were to use this window to select the objects I want to rotate, and I do that door with lines rather than a rectangle, I would be grabbing that end line of that door, and I don't want that. So I select the objects. I'm going to spin it around that midpoint of the table, 45 degrees. There you go. That is the plan. Again, I want you to do this plan as many times as it takes for the steps to become second nature. Okay. The first time you do something, you struggle through it a little bit. Second time, you start understanding the steps in advance and anticipating. If you do this 2 or 3 times, you'll be able to draw it in under 5 minutes easily. All right, so please practice with this. Finally, I'm going to save this. The homework assignment is, let me bring that up. Now, contrary to the first 2 plans, this one, whoops, let me grab it. There we go. This one is on an 11 by 17 piece of paper if you want to print it out to scale. It just didn't fit on an 8.5 by 11. So this one, I'm not gonna walk you through. You have to anticipate and figure out the steps, but they're basically the same as in the examples. Okay. That's the homework assignment. It's not just to do it once, it's at least to do it twice. All right, but that I can't check that you do it. It's for your own good that you do it a couple of times. I think the second time is when you really learn it. So that's the homework assignment. Good luck, and I'll see you later.